Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Maximo Moments Lunch and Learn on querying and ad hoc reporting. My name is Victoria Foley. So I have been with NACE almost a year. I've been working in Maximo for about almost 15 years now. Today, we are going to just quickly touch on some querying options that you have inside of Maximo, and then we're going to look at how to do ad hoc reporting or query-based reporting inside of the system. So there are a few different types of queries that you can perform inside of Maximo. So the first is going to be what's called a quick search or your find option. So this is going to be based on each application and the record number of that application. So in work orders, it's based on the work order number, assets is based on the asset number, locations based on location number, and so forth. Your more search fields is your next option. So this is going to be more fields for you to use to search by. So you have what's on your list view, and then more search fields gives you more options. These are all fields based inside of the application record that you're in. This is going to allow you to put in more filters. It's going to allow you to use operators and wildcards to build more complex queries, and then you can use these as their saved queries, which leads us to our next query ability in Maximo is your saved queries. So these are saved from your search options. They can be made public so that multiple users can access them. They can also be marked as default so that as soon as you enter that application, that query is what pulls up the records that you see. And then we have our ad hoc reporting or our query-based reporting. So this is going to allow you to actually pick the columns that you want to see on your report. It's going to allow you to build simple calculations and then actually apply some more criteria to it. And it's going to allow you to generate custom reports. So these are the same as the save queries in that they can be made public for multiple people to use them, or you can keep it as just one that you see yourself when you go to your run reports. So for your quick search, that's always going to be up in the top right-hand corner of your icon bar, and it's going to be the little magnifying glass, and that'll be your find. You'll be able to type in the number, and then it will pull up the record for you. Your more search fields, also in your icon bar in the top right. This is going to be your magnifying glass with the plus sign. This is your more search fields, and this is going to give you more fields for you to enter criteria in. We can see that you can scroll down and you'll have date ranges depending on the application as well, which we'll look at when we do our demo. And when you put in the information that you want to search on and you hit find, you'll be able to pull up your list of records. That can then be saved, which is again your icon bar. So your more search fields, your find options, you have the save current query. So you're going to click save current query, then your save current query dialog box will pop up. This is where you'll give it a name and a description, and then you can check the box for public or for default. Even if you make your query public, only you will be able to make changes to it or to delete it. No one else will be able to edit it. They will just be able to run it. And then once you save your query, over on your left menu, it's going to be under available queries. You'll click your arrow, and then you'll be able to see the list of queries available. So I created the CMs in progress, and I can see that saved here. If I make it public, then other users will be able to come to available queries and see the same query. So for our ad hoc reporting or our query-based reports, these are going to be done inside of your application, and you can go to Create Report over on your left menu under Common Actions. You can also go to More Actions, Run Reports, and there's a Create Report option there as well. Once you do the Create Report, you get your ad hoc report dialog, and we have 5 tabs across the top, which we're going to look at in more detail during our demo. But our first tab is going to be our Style tab. This is where we're going to determine if this is going to be a list report or a detail report. The difference is really How it sounds, the list report is simply just going to list your records with the columns of data that you pick. Your detail report is going to pick more detailed information pulling from other tables in Maximo. Next, you have the Save Application Query to Report checkbox. So this is going to default to checked when you first create your report. What this does is it pulls whatever query was in your application onto this report and saves it so that every time you run the report, that is the query that gets pulled. Sorry. Underneath that checkbox, we have our title. So if you're going to save this report and either you use it in the future or allow others to use it in the future, you want to make sure that you give this a title in order to save it. And then you have your share option. So if you want this to be a report that other users can utilize, you want to make sure that you check that share box. Next, we have our content tab. So this is where we're going to actually pick what is shown on this report. Over here on the left, we have the tables that this can pull data from. So I am doing this in work orders. So I have work order details first, and then I have any table listed underneath of it that could have records that relate back to my work order. So this is something that your admin is going to have to manage for you. This is what's called an object structure inside of Maximo. And you just have to make sure that you have access to it and that it pulls the right tables that you want to see. But from here, you can choose the table that you want to pull the data from, and then this will change your available fields option here on the right-hand side. So we have work order details selected first, and it's showing us 1 through 4 of 212 different fields. So this is going to pull any field in Maximo in that work order details table that can be used on the report. When we do our demo, I'll scroll down, you'll be able to see more of this, but that selected fields at the bottom, these are going to be fields that are picked to be on your report. So this is going to default what's in your list tab, all those fields that are across your list tab at the top. We can remove these, we can add more from available fields, and then we can reorder them as well. Next, we have our Calculate tab. So Calculate is going to allow us to create different expressions that we want to see on our report. The nice thing about this is it's only going to show us fields that are available to do calculations on. So if we remember when we were on that content tab, it had 212 fields. Now we only have 121. So Maximo is not going to allow us to do calculations on like text fields or anything like that. It's only going to show you fields that you can do calculations against. And once you figure out the calculation that you want to build, you select your fields and you add them to your expression. And then you can use your expression builder and build that and then test it. And then we'll add it, which I'll show you how to do. After that, we have our Summarize tab. So Summarize is the same thing. It's only going to show us the fields that summarizations can be created against. And then we have some different summarization options here. These are the functions we'll be able to pick from. So we choose our field, we choose our function, and then we add it to our summaries to be listed on the report. The final tab is our Format tab. So this is where we're going to be able to do some filtering, some grouping, and some sorting of this report. So the filtering allows us to add 3 fields that we want to filter on, and we're only going to be able to pick fields that we've used on the report, so you can't filter on something that you're not showing. All you do is you click your magnifying glass and you pick the field that you want to filter on. If it's going to be what's called a single parameter, you'll leave this box checked. If you want it to have the ability to, you want the user to have the ability to click multiple options, so a multi-parameter, you just uncheck that box. So right now it's checked for single parameter for the status field on the work order, which means they can only pick one status. If we wanted them to be able to pick multiple, we would just uncheck that box. Next, we have grouping. So this is just how our report is going to group itself. So I picked first the location and then I picked the asset. So I first want to group by my location, and then under the grouped locations, I want to group by asset and show these work orders. The final section at the bottom is our sorting. So we have the ability to pick a couple of fields that we want to sort this on. And it's the same. You have the three options and you just use your magnifying glass. From there, we can do run and save, or we can preview. So if we think that we still need to make more changes to this, we just want to see how it's looking so far, we can hit this preview report and it's going to show us what the report looks like so far. If we're ready to go ahead and save this and run it, we hit run and save, and it's going to save our report for us and then run it. So for this one, I went ahead and I saved it and then I ran it. I put in waiting to be scheduled for my status. So we can see where it's grouping by location and then asset. So these first are location work orders that don't have a location listed. And then the first one is no location and no asset as well. And then we have no location and then this asset. And we can see that it just changes from there. And then at the bottom, we get into, okay, now we're in this location and we've grouped by the asset 1002. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to walk you through all of the things that we just saw. Since I clicked the wrong thing. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to go back to work order tracking. So when we come into an application, you come into your list tab. This is your list view. These fields at the top are searchable. So I can hit enter and it's going to pull me up all of them. If I want to go ahead and search by some of these, so I want to say anything that's in a repair location. I could choose the value, I can type it in. Okay, I only have one. And what about the shipping? Okay, so I have some more work orders that are being done in my shipping location. And I can even do more searching in here. I can use these fields across the top, or like we talked about, the more search fields. So that's here. I can click my more search fields and I can say, okay, I'm going to look at anything that's in my shipping location. And I want to see anything that hasn't been approved yet. So let's see if there's anything that's waiting approval or waiting to be scheduled. Gonna hit OK. So it goes ahead and fills that in for me. We can see that we have lots of other fields to choose from in here. And on work orders especially, we can enter date ranges. So if I want to see anything that's reported within a specific date range, or is targeted to be started or completed in a specific date range, or scheduled to be started and finished and complete in a specific date range, I could do all of that here in my dates section. We have lots of options for fields to search on in here. So once I've put in my search criteria, I'm going to go ahead and hit find at the bottom. So it pulled it in for me. So I have my shipping location and I want only statuses where it's waiting approval or waiting to be scheduled. And now I see my list here. I can see that it's 1 through 20 of 32. And I want to go ahead and I want to save this. This is something that I want to see pretty frequently. So I'm going to hit my quick search menu at the top and I do my save current query. So now we get that save current query dialog that we saw before. We have to give it a name and a description. So I'm going to say unapproved shipping work orders. And sorry about that. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to put that in my description as well. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this one public. I'm going to make it default as well so that you can see what that will look like. I'm going to hit OK. So I see query has been saved, and I can go over to my available queries on the left, and I can see unapproved shipping work orders. Now, if I go to my Start Center, I'm going to go back into work order tracking, and we're going to see that that list comes up for me automatically. Unapproved shipping work orders is my current query, and I see that list here, and that's because I made that query my default. So that means that anytime I come into this application, this is the query that will default. This is the list of records I'm going to get. I will only be able to search on this list unless I make the change appear and go to all records. And that's something to always keep in mind when you make a query a default. If I want to make changes to a query that I've already saved, I go to View Manage Queries, and I'll be able to find the work order the work order, the query that I just saved, and see that I can uncheck the default and I can uncheck making it public. So these other ones are read only for that, and I can't delete them because I didn't create those. But I can delete or make public or not make public the query that I created. I can also open it, and if I know some SQL, I can make some changes to my query here. So I just don't want it to be my default. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And to verify that that worked, I'm going to go to my Start Center and then navigate back to my work order tracking application. And now I'm back to just coming into work order tracking. And I went ahead and hit Enter. So a thing to always remember when you're querying, you use Enter. When you're doing data entry, you hit Tab, and then Enter is saved for querying. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a report from in here. So I've just got a list of work orders pulled up right now. I'm going to do create report. I'm going to leave it as list report for right now because Maximo will change it to a detail report if I need it to be. It knows automatically if I pull fields that require it to be detail. So I can leave it as list for now. I'm going to uncheck that box for save application query to report because I don't want this to save every time. I want it to just run on whatever criteria I enter into my report. And I'm going to say this is going to be my work orders grouped by status report. For right now, I'm going to leave this with me. I don't need to share this report. This is just going to be for me. So I'm going to go to my content, and I'm going to go ahead and make some changes. So I see my asset, my status, my work order description, location, all of this stuff got brought in because this was listed across the top in my list tab. So all of those fields automatically got brought in for me. I can see my arrow here to go through between my fields. I'm going to go ahead and remove a couple of them that I'm not going to need for this. So I just check the boxes for the ones that I don't need and then remove selected. So now I only have 7 fields left. I'm going to go ahead and take my site out as well. I only have access to one site for this, so I'm just going to remove this for myself. Okay, and so what I can do is I can check and see, okay, some of them do have a scheduled start, so I'm going to keep that field on there. I want to be able to see my scheduled start if it has it. I have my work order, my description, my location, my asset. So I actually want to see my asset description as well. If I want to see this, what I can do is I can click Asset. So now we see that I have 124 fields to choose from because I'm choosing from my asset fields now. And I can come through here. And I should be able to pick my description, or I can just type it in. So there's my description. I'm going to check the box because I want that to be pulled in, and I'm going to hit Add Selected. So it just adds it to the end for me. It tells me that it's coming from asset. I see that it's description. We can see that these other ones come from work order. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move it by my asset. So my asset is number 4. I'm going to make my asset description number 5. And I'm going to actually call it asset description. And then these are going to get pushed back to 6 and 7. And I can just hit refresh at this point, and it's going to refresh my list. So it puts my asset description by my asset. I could do the same for location if I wanted to see the location description as well. If this were maybe a report I was doing on preventive maintenance work orders, I could pull in job plan information. I could pull in task information. I can pull in status information if I need to. I have, different options for what different fields I want to see on my report. It just depends on what you're looking for and what you're trying to get out of your report. Okay, I think that I'm going to stick with these fields for now, and I can rename them as needed. So if I want to just say this is my work order number, this is my work order description, I have a location and asset description, status. I have all of that. So next we have our calculate. So calculate, I can run through and I can pick fields that I want to perform a calculation against inside of the system for these records. So I'm going to be pulling up based on status, grouped on status. So we can go ahead and let's maybe look at some actual cost on this one. How about that? So what I did was I just put actual in my label field and hit enter. And this is just allowing me to narrow down my search, narrow down my fields to anything that has the word actual in the label of it. So I'm going to pull in actual labor cost, actual material cost, and then any actual service or tool cost as well. So I've checked those 4 boxes and I'm going to hit add selected now. Make that one a little bigger. And so I do have a couple of different expressions in here that I can pick, but I am just going to summarize these or calculate these into a total, not summarize, sorry. So I'm going to just come in here and I'm going to say, okay, I am going to add all of these together so that I can get a total cost for my work order so far. And what I can do now is I can test my expression to make sure that it works and my validation was successful. So I know that this is a valid expression. I'm just going to put total work order cost. And at this point, all I've done is calculate it, give it a name. I haven't actually added this to the report yet. So if I don't do anything else at this point, we're not going to see this on our report. So we still need to add our expression. So we go ahead and add it. And now we'll see this is the name of it, what our expression actually is. And then when I come back in later, since I'm saving this, if I need to make any changes, I can come in and I can edit this. I also, if I have multiple calculations or summarizations on a report, I can order them here. So they're always going to get added to the last column of the report, but I can order them within themselves. I also can, if I come back in later and decide that I don't want to see this anymore, I can remove it. And next I have my summarization. So I can summarize any kind of fields that are in here based on these functions that are listed. And again, Maximo will show me the actual fields that I can perform summarizations against. So we can go through here and see if there's anything that we want to summarize on. Let's see. I think I just want to do a summary of my labor cost. So I'm going to say I want a total of my labor cost. So what I did was I clicked on my field once I found it, and then I clicked the summarization function that I wanted to perform. So it pulled the function in for me, it pulled the field in, and now I can hit add value, and it's going to go ahead and add that down to my summaries at the bottom. I can rename this here. I'm just going to say this is total labor. And I could pick other tables in here if I wanted to perform calculations, sorry, or summarizations on fields that are in other tables, I can pick them and see. So like I'm on locations and now I have 22 fields I can pick from, as work orders had 121. So it just depends on what you're looking to see on your report. You do have some different options. So I'm going to go ahead into formatting. So first is my filtering section. I do want to filter on status. Excuse me. So notice how I mentioned before that you can only pick fields that are on your report. It's also only going to be fields that are in your parent category, so the main table that you're on, which is work orders. So like I added the asset description, and that's not something that I can filter on. And I'm going to uncheck this box for a single parameter because I want to be able to pick multiple statuses that I run this report against. And next I'm going to do grouping. So grouping is going to be, you can use other fields in your report that are from other tables, other categories. So I do see asset description listed here. So I actually am going to group by status. And then under that, I want to group by asset. So there are 3 options here. So I could, if I wanted to do location and then asset, or if I wanted to add yet another grouping underneath of that, I could. And then I can choose if I want it to be ascending or descending. And then I'm going to scroll down. And at the bottom, we have our sorting section. So this is just how we're going to sort the work orders inside of the groups. It'll sort by the work order number automatically, so I'm just going to leave that. But if I needed something specific sorted, I can add them here. And we can see it's any field that's on our report. So at this point, I think that I'm ready to go ahead and run my report. I want to save it. I think that I'm pretty good. I'm not going to make any more changes. So I'm going to hit run and save. We'll let that work for a minute. So notice that it didn't pop up and ask me if I wanted to put in my the filtering criteria. When you first create your ad hoc report and it has a filter for the it has parameters for a filter, you want to run and save. It's not going to ask you at first. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, and I'm going to just go to run reports. And I'm going to find the report I created. So work orders grouped by status, that's the one I just did. I'm going to run that report, and it's going to allow me to pick multiple statuses. So I'm going to say I want to see anything that's waiting approval or waiting to be scheduled. And I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And just like you do for any other reports, you have the ability to schedule it or run it immediately. I'm going to go ahead and run it immediately. Okay, so I can see I have my title, so work orders grouped by status. So we can see first is our summarization. We did a total labor. So it's going to total it for the entire report first, and then it's going to total it per grouping for us. And then on the far right, we have that calculation that we created, our total work order cost, which was our labor, material, service, and tool cost. And then we have the fields. So we have our work order number and our work order description. We can see where we changed our title for it. We have our location, our asset. Our asset did get moved up here and our asset description stayed here. This is because we're grouping by the asset, so it did get changed. And then we still have our scheduled start listed in here. We can see in the bottom right that this is page 1 of 40. So I'm going to use my arrows here. And I'm going to page through a few of these so we can see our status is waiting approval. And these are any waiting approval work order where there is no asset listed. And now I can see, okay, I have waiting approval, and now I'm starting to list my assets. And again, it's going to do a summarization for us based on whatever we picked, and then if we have any cost associated to any of them. So because I picked waiting approval or waiting to be scheduled, none of these are going to have costs, right? So let's go ahead and let's run this report again. So this time, I'm going to pick anything that's in an in progress status, or let's just stick with in progress for right now. I'm going to say I want to see any work order that's in progress. So I'll hit submit. Okay, so now we're seeing in progress, and then we're grouping by our assets yet again. It's showing us cost information this time, and we see labor at the top as well. We can page through these and just see the differences. And I can do this for multiple, so if I want to see the same thing for completed, I can do comp work orders. And it's going to give me the same thing. I only have one status, so it's just going to group by the different assets right now. And it shows me the calculations I created and the summarizations as well. So if I decide that I no longer want to use this report, I used it for a while, I don't need it anymore, I can come in and I can delete it. I can also come in and make changes to it. So if I want to change how I'm filtering or I want to change fields that I'm seeing, I can come in and I can say edit, and it takes me right back to this ad hoc report dialog box and takes me right into where I was before with my content, my calculations, my formatting. I can make any changes necessary. And then I can run it and save it. All right, that is our demo. Do we have any questions? Okay, well, if there's no questions right now, I appreciate you guys taking the time for out of your day to join us for our Lunch and Learn today. Our next Lunch and Learn is going to be on Wednesday, February 11th, and this is going to be on the request for quotation process, and I will be your presenter again. So again, I thank you guys for your time today, and enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you next month.